Hi, Ellie here, and today we're going to talk about what AI can and cannot do. This is AI Survival Kit for product managers. So what can models actually do? Models can recognize patterns in huge amount of data. They can generate text, images, and even voice that sounds natural. Models can answer, predict, and recommend. Models can also automate repetitive tasks. Here's what models cannot do. They cannot think and understand like humans. They can also not be all truth. A lot of times they hallucinate. Models cannot handle tasks that require common sense. Also, models do not learn on the fly unless they get fine-tuned by humans. Now let's get to inference cost. Inference means running the training model to get the output. Every time you ask ChatGPT, that's inference. Inference cost comes from compute, so based on the generative AI model, it could be larger like ChatGPT or smaller. And it also depends on tokens, how many tokens you use. A token means one sign, so like one character. If you think about a word, what? W would be a token. H would be a token. So you're paying for all these tokens as well. When it comes to choosing what model you're going to use, that's a very important question because ChatGPT 4.5 is more expensive than ChatGPT 3.5 and Gemini Flash 2.5 is more expensive than Flash 1.8. In fact, both of those are cheaper than ChatGPT 3.5. It is of course ideal to have your own model that is trained, and you could use some of them that are in open source like DeepSeek, but it does require a lot of your work and input and training. So a lot of times smaller companies and even large will still go ahead and use ChatGPT or Gemini or any other model like Anthropic, for example. So here's a takeaway. Cost grows with usage and complexity. 3. Latency. Now, bigger models usually require more time, and so you can see a little bit more latency than smaller models. Yet some, for example, Near AI, love it, but at the same time it is a bit higher latency that I've seen at least a couple of months ago. Maybe they have improved. Similarly, you can see in ChatGPT when a new model rolls in, sometimes it has higher latency and then they improve with time. Now, larger models usually have higher quality, so it is always a question of quality versus cost versus performance, aka latency. Now let's get to model evaluation metrics. How do you know that the AI is good? Well, you're looking into a couple of things. You're looking into accuracy, precision, and recall. Can your model remember what you said before? How accurate are the answers? And how specific are they? For example, if you're asking for something in your area, let's say it's a restaurant in San Francisco, will it be giving me locations in San Francisco or go above it because it's not finding all the suggestions? And how accurate is it going to be? What if I'm saying I want it now in the evening and a lot of them are closed? Is it going to be accurate? Next metric is hallucination rate. How often does it make mistakes? Or as long as you have the conversation, at which point does it start hallucinating? So oftentimes when you ask one prompt or second prompt, it does pretty well no matter what LLM you're using. But as you go deeper and deeper, it uses the recall of previous conversation. And so how well is it going to still respond, or how far off is it gonna hallucinate? That's another metric. The following metric is very interesting. It is going to be very important in upcoming years. Toxicity. How correct is it and how unbiased is it? That is a very hard question to answer. And so currently, when we ask Grok, that is owned by Elon Musk, Grok still will disagree with some of the statements that Elon Musk says. But will it change later? We don't know. ChatGPT has general answers today, but will it get influenced by products from Microsoft versus products from Google? Will it mostly recommend Microsoft products versus Google? We don't know that either. Now, the next metric is latency and cost. So it's a very much engineering question, but at the same time, you as a product manager will be deciding and giving advice on what you would be using. Why am I saying that? Because in the past, engineering would make those decisions. Nowadays, a product manager cannot be non-technical. It's just not a thing anymore. Just forget about it. Today, a product manager has to be technical. You have to be able to build AI agents, at least it's the simplest ones. You have to be working with workflows because you are not just a product manager, you're a product orchestrator. Since the products are mostly AI driven, you have to be able to define, based on the needs of the product and the customer, which LLMs you're going to use, what is the cost of latency for your user, and what is the cost of LLM. So a takeaway for a PM is you need to measure both the product outcome as well as the quality of LLM. Next question you should ask is training versus inference. So how much time does it take to train the model with large GPUs? And usually this is being done by researchers and engineers. So you as a product manager don't have to do that. Now, what you need to do these days as a product manager, you need to be able to fine-tune the model and also orchestrate it. So product orchestration is part of your job. Next one is prompt engineering. A prompt is basically you giving a task or a question to ChatGPT, for example, to LLM. Now, it is important that you give good questions and good quality tasks. For example, if you're asking explain photosynthesis, that's a bad prompt. The good prompt is explain photosynthesis to a 10th grader in 3 sentences with an analogy. Why is it important? It is important because it costs money. Every time you ask LLM to give you an answer, your prompt costs money for all the tokens that you're using. So a PM takeaway is the quality of a product depends on the quality of your prompts and prompt structure. Number 7, fine-tuning. You as a product manager need to take a large model and you need to be fine-tuning it based on your data set. It is usually much smaller than the generative AI. And so that is also part of your role. Along with the engineer, you'll be fine-tuning the model. Oftentimes, as a product manager, you will need to get all the data sets from different locations, from different departments, and feed it into the model. So that is a part of fine-tuning. It's a part of cleansing the data, and also as you feed it into the model and test it out and see what results come, like how does it actually answer, you need to compare it to a real answer and is it performing as it should. And as you have these conversations back and forth, you want to make sure that the model is not hallucinating and that it's giving the correct answers. You also need consistent style and tone. All these things you need to be taking into account as you're fine-tuning the model. Another takeaway for a product manager: in the beginning, as you're fine-tuning the model, it will cost you more, but it will give you savings in inference. So in the beginning, as you are implementing some AI agents and adding the AI model, you won't see savings right away. You will see it a bit later, like 6 to 8 months. Hybrid model systems. Usually a company will use a mix of different models. So let's say a small model and a large model together. It's a combination. A company will also use retrieval augmented generation, which is very popular today. And the third one is orchestration, product orchestration. So let's dive into each one of them. You can use a combination of small and large models. You can, for example, take a smaller model like Near AI, which is a Web3, or Kava.io, or you can go ahead and use ChatGPT APIs. So you could do the combination of those two together. Retrieval augmented generation, that is pulling information out of the data, out of the model to give very clear answers. That's a part of the process. The model pulls answers out of the dataset before it answers. It reduces the hallucination. Agent orchestrator. This is where AI calls different set of tools. For example, it will call a calculator, it will call an API before winging it. A PM decides what tools exist and when to call them and in which cases. A PM also decides how to evaluate the output. So let us wrap up. AI is probabilistic, it is not deterministic, and it still requires a human in the loop. This human needs to be educated. So here's my AI product manager survival kit, and this is basic information you have to understand, that product managers are becoming product orchestrators and they have to be more technical. If you like this video, please follow for more, click on that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.